Wel, Prynhawn da a croeso i bawb. Good afternoon and welcome all to our Spotlight on Success event with Achieve More Training. I'm Mark Ishwood, Director of Quality Assurance and Leadership Development at the National Academy for Educational Leadership. One of our core purposes at the Leadership Academy is to provide assurance to educational leaders across Wales that the professional learning that is available to them is of high quality and having a positive impact. And we do this through our peer-led endorsement and monitoring process. Achieve More Training's provision has been endorsed and monitored over the last 3 years and continues to meet the endorsement criteria. I'm delighted to welcome and shortly hand over to Matt Hilliker, who's the company director, to hear more about this provision. But before I do, one of our guest speakers, Lowry, will be presenting in Welsh this afternoon. So if you are not a Welsh speaker, please can you choose English through the globe or the 3 dots at the bottom and interpretation button. It's at the bottom of the screen. So if you can do that, give people a second. Then I'm going to hand over to you, Matt.
Welcome, Bauer. Thanks, Mark. I'm Matt Hilliker. I'm the director at Achieve More Training. Just going to talk very briefly and pass you over to the guest speakers today, which will talk about our program in more detail. I'm sure you'll want to hear from them rather than from myself. But just to set the scene, really, a bit of a summary about ourselves as an organisation and also about the endorsement process we've been through and why it's been beneficial. Achieve More Training, we specialise in work-based learning in the sport, leisure and education sectors. We were established in 2017. Since starting 7 years ago now, we have around 40 staff delivering qualifications in those sectors to about 1,000 learners every year in Wales. So we've really grown a lot in these sectors and all of our staff have been employed in the sector and coming in to deliver the training to pass on their knowledge and skills. And we developed the Leadership and Management Programme in 2018, 2019, following a conversation with a head teacher around the provision he had for leadership and management training in his school, which he felt, even though it was meeting a skills gap, it maybe didn't have the contextualisation for the education sector. So together, myself and the ex-head teacher designed and delivered the first programme of leadership management, which was contextualised around the same time that the new curriculum for Wales was coming into Wales as well. So I'd say our unique selling point of our programmes is that our leadership and management programme is designed and delivered by ex-head teachers. So they've been there, done it, and they're now passing on their knowledge and skills. So we've got Peter Agnew, who was Darland High School head teacher in Wrexham, Nicola Thomas, who was Flint Cornish Primary School head teacher in Flintshire, and we've got Gaynor Thomas, who is an ex-primary school teacher, but also a specialist with work-based learning. She was an NQT mentor with GWER, and the 3 of those work across the board, supporting employers and learners on the leadership and management pathway, which they'll talk about in a second. In terms of the NAL endorsement, it's been really constructive, supportive and rewarding process to go through the last 3 years. The 4 criteria areas that we looked at was having that contextualisation around the Welsh policy, our delivery and learning model, the governance of our organisation, so how we manage our processes and administer the programme, and finally how we review the impact, so evaluating the impact year in, year out. And actually by going through those criteria areas with the endorsement process, it really helped us to stop, reflect on what we were doing, highlight areas of good practice, but also see areas that we could continuously improve year on year out. As Mark said, this is our 3rd year now of going through that endorsement process. So each year we monitor what we're doing and try and make it better for the benefits of employers and learners or staff that we work with. It also helped us give us a lot of credibility to our programme. So for future employers and staff that want to come into our programmes, knowing that we meet a standard of professional learning, which links to the professional learning standards in education set by Welsh Government, It also helps us to be part of a community, so sharing and receiving good practice through the newsletters, through other events that the NAL put on, and being able to pull together events like today where hopefully we'll get to share our program and answer some questions that you all might be interested in. It's a good opportunity for networking and hearing different perspectives on key issues from a leadership and management point of view. So as I said before, it's really constructive, it's been rewarding, and it also gives us that credibility that we're meeting the standards year in, year out of what we're trying to support potential staff that want to go into leadership management roles, specifically in education in Wales. So that hopefully that gives you a summary of us as an organisation and the programme and the process we've been through the NAEL. And I'll hand you over to some of the guest speakers. So first of all, I'll hand you over to Dewi, who is one of the employers we've worked with. He'll give you an insight into why, from an employer's point of view, this programme is beneficial. And then we'll hear from Paul, Lowry and John in terms of their experiences as learners and what they've gone on to after finishing the programme as well. So I'll hand you over to Dewi now.
Hello, pnawn da pawb. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much to Matt there for handing over, and also to, I didn't say hello earlier, Mark, so great to see you again. Yeah, we've been an employer supporting Achieve More with the courses and the content that they deliver. It's been a hugely beneficial thing to be involved in, and again, a number of my staff have benefited from the opportunity to engage in some of the training that they offer. So the course offered by Achieve More has been a great opportunity, especially for the staff and the teaching staff that we have who are at that stage of their career in a school setting and wanting an insight into what it's like to kind of delve into educational leadership. Obviously, they're doing it from a class base, but delving in then to doing it at a higher level, departmentally or even whole school. It was an easy kind of an opportunity for them to seek out that training. So as a school, we have a strong ethos on developing leadership and capacity from within, and to enable those who have the aspiration and ability to lead at various levels across the school, it's crucial to develop that level of continuity. We're a school of 500 pupils based in Flint in North Wales. So with that comes a lot of staff as well. So it's having staff who have got the leadership qualities and skill sets to be able to manage both aspects of being in a school of our size. So since 2019, we've had 4 members of the teaching staff who have accessed and completed the leadership and management programme at NVQ level 5. So that's the ILM programme which is being offered. Each of these staff were class teachers at the time of taking the course, but they did have some whole school responsibilities across the school in terms of how they were inputting into school improvement planning, leading on priorities or whole school initiatives. All 4 members of staff have reported that the course has had a truly beneficial and positive impact on their leadership development to date, from a wider sense of obviously researching and delving into leadership in the wider context. 2 of the staff have accessed the course during the COVID restrictions. So obviously since 2019 we've had lots of disruptions, and during that time the course was basically adapted very quickly to support those members of staff, so they were not missing out on developing themselves professionally. So the support of the programme then moved from face-to-face to then having to switch online, which is something that I'm sure that we're all very used to doing from that difficult period, and something that we're so used to doing now. And the content of the course does require a lot of dedication from the staff, and in terms of the amount of time dedicated towards research and the professional learning that's required to get the best out of the course for themselves. This can be a challenge for some at times, but again, it's finding that time and it's making the time to do that and dedicate towards that learning, because even though the staff do have busy work and personal family lives, the 4 that I had accessing the course did endeavour to find the time and to complete the course. Since completing the course, 3 out of the 4 members of staff have since taken on leadership roles within the school. So, for example, 1 member of staff was successful in gaining a role within the senior leadership team as assistant head teacher with responsibilities around curriculum and standards. 2 other members of staff were successful in gaining roles within middle leadership management teams, and this was as a role as a teaching and learning lead, which was a new positions that I put into a new structure within the school. To put this into perspective, we're a school of obviously 500 pupils, like I mentioned before, with approximately 70 or so staff. So a teaching and learning lead can be responsible for up to 150 pupils, which is across 5 classrooms in either a upper or junior department. And within that team, you've probably got anywhere from 8 to 10 support staff. And in foundation phase, the pupil number will be similar, but the number of adults to line manage will be a lot greater as well. So anywhere from 15 to 18 members of staff. So having the key attributes and abilities and skill sets to lead and to model their leadership skills is highly important. So each module of the leadership and management course, which they have accessed, has been really useful in terms of learning about different leadership styles and ways of managing different or difficult situations as we do on a daily basis. And by doing this, they feel more comfortable in handling those difficult situations, but also they're able to adapt and become a bit more strategic as well when time allows. As leaders, it's important to recognise that a one-size-fits-all leadership style and approach does not work across many organisations. Therefore, being able to identify their own leadership styles, but also working on other attributes of leadership has been really beneficial for the school. So, for example, some of the modules that we've been working through, managing personal, professional development, providing leadership and management support across the school, looking into developing and implementing operational planning, developing working relationships are just some of the examples of some of the modules that they're doing. So basically, in a nutshell, what we've benefited from the school has been highly beneficial. I would definitely like to see more of my staff take up future opportunities to access courses like this, especially with meeting the need and the skill set of the staff and to meet their aspirations as well. On a personal note, in terms of the support from the staff, the mentor supporting my teachers through these courses were very personal, and been very positively reflected on by our staff. So it's testament to Achieve More for providing that support. And when they do say contact us at any time if you have any questions about the modules, they certainly do mean it. So support is on hand at all times for them. So that's my bit of a whistle stop. But I'll hand back over to you, Matt. And obviously, if there's any questions towards the end, I'd be happy to answer any of them.
Perfect, thanks, Dewi, and great to hear from an employer's perspective how our programs help to meet that skills gap and prepare staff for their next progression in terms of their careers, and also your plan for that leadership management structure within the school. I will pass you on to 3 different members of staff that have accessed the program now, so they can talk about their journey and what they liked about the course and how they benefited and what they've gone on to do since they finished. There's just a couple of points that I forgot to raise before that's probably really beneficial for everyone to know. So all of our programs, and specifically this program today we're talking about, are fully funded. So they're funded through Welsh Government. So there is no cost associated for the employers or any staff interested in this program. The costs are fully funded through Welsh Government. And secondly, we do, even though we're talking about the level 5 program today, and we do offer a level 3, a level 4 and a level 5 pathway. So whether that's people that are in leadership management roles at the moment or they want to be in the future, we'd speak to yourselves and members of staff in terms of which level is probably beneficial to start from. There's nothing stopping any staff starting at level 3 and going all the way through to level 5 as well. So I will hand over to, I think it's John next, John Jones, and I'll let him speak about his experience as a learner.
Thanks, Matt. I'm just going to share my screen quickly. Hopefully the PowerPoint's up there. Can you see that? Or Yeah, great. So my name's John Jones. I am a deputy head teacher at Ysgol Dywember in Leeswood, and which is a small primary school rural setting in Flintshire. We've got 85 pupils. So for a bit of context, before I moved to Ysgol Dywember as deputy head teacher, I was working at Southdown Primary School in Buckley, which is a large two-form primary setting. So my career journey from starting the leadership and management program to progressing to deputy headship was a very sort of long journey, and definitely worthwhile. So in the presentation you'll see in a minute, you'll see some of the modules that I studied as part of it and what I've learned along the way from it. So first, I was looking at the reasons why, on the second slide, the reasons why I was looking to complete the course. And for me, I had lots of conversation with the senior leadership team. I had a very supportive head teacher, Diane Chisholm, and she was looking for me to take that next step in my career. I was a middle leader at the time. I had various roles across the school, leading on different projects. However, it was I was in that position where the senior leadership team was full. There weren't those opportunities to progress into senior leadership. So I was looking at what I could do to develop my CV and my skill set to move on and progress in my career. So I spoke to Matt and looked at the course content, and I thought straight away, this is definitely what I was missing. There was lots of content that you'll see in a second that I thought would be very beneficial for my career, and the qualification being transferable across settings as well and different sectors. It was a really attractive prospect. And again, at the same time, I was completing the middle leadership development program with GWER. And I thought that by completing this alongside the level 5 qualification, that the skills were transferable and the content would be quite similar, which would help me really develop in my career. And of course, as Matt said there, it was fully funded as well, which meant that it was an easy decision for my head teacher to release me. It was only the supply costs that needed to be covered. On the next slide, I've just broken down some of the content which I studied as part of the program. So the modules were at different levels, level 4, 5, and at level 7. And you can see there, I've just highlighted in blue some of the key skills that I had already developed prior to the course and skills that I developed further. So one of the key elements there that I hadn't had much experience from as a middle leader is health and safety. So sitting down with Peter, who was the course lecturer, he identified that as an area that I could develop further. And then we learned about the theory and the HSE legislation, all of the government legislation, and looking at how I could then bring that into my role. So I had then had the opportunity to work with the senior leadership team, looking at health and safety policy, looking at risk assessments, going on learning walks, and looking at how I could then sort of further improve the school processes. Developing people, I then had the opportunity to work on performance management with teaching assistants at the school. Again, develop those skills further. And then finance as well is an experience that as a middle leader, I was really lacking in that area. I didn't have any real concept of managing a budget, how sort of difficult job that is for a senior leadership team and for head teachers. So from looking at budgets in a sort of broader scale, looking at a large school budget, a small school budget, and then looking at how that can be broken down and developed, and looking at how to recover from a deficit budget is an experience that I would never have had. So completing those assessments, the formal written assessments, was fantastic to gain that knowledge. And then moving back to my setting at Southdown, I then had the opportunity to manage small budgets within projects across the school. So looking at the school development plan, how those funds could be allocated across the school. So I was supported really well from my employer as well as through Achieve More training. And again, looking at the school development plan from that in more detail. So working from small aspects of school development plan to then taking a full SDP priority was a real beneficial opportunity from the course. And on the next slide, you'll see in more detail sort of the 5 opportunities that then came from completing the course. So I really found that I had that motivation and determination to progress in my career after completing the course. It gave me that confidence and self-belief that I can progress in that leadership journey. So moving on from that, I had a real interest in health and safety. So I went on to complete the IOSH course through the local authority, taking on more opportunities within the school on that. I then progressed on to it, obtaining the deputy headship as well. So as part of the course, I had the opportunity to look at job specifications, applications, and also not just deputy headship applications, looking at when employing teaching assistants, cleaning staff, MDSA, secretaries, looking at those job specs in more detail. So I had the skills to input on that, working as part of senior leadership team. So at present, we're recruiting for a school secretary. I would never have had that experience of writing a job spec, whereas now I've got that experience to work with the head teacher and develop that further. Again, in my first term as deputy head teacher, Estin inspected the school, so having the confidence and experience to talk about the curriculum as part of the course. It was when the curriculum for Wales was sort of really first taken off, and we were developing our systems at Southdam. I had the opportunity to work on curriculum there, but transitioned into a smaller school as a curriculum teacher and learning lead across the whole school. I sort of took that skill and moved it on to that sort of more advanced level. So reporting to Estin there. I then completed the senior leadership development program through GWER. Lots of the skills that I developed for the leadership and management course meant that I could input more in the face-to-face discussions and through the presentations. And then finally, I then progressed on to completing the National Masters in Education funded by the Welsh Government. So this course is really a pathway to progress to further career opportunities and professional learning. And I've really advocated to that to other colleagues across different schools and within my own setting. And then the final slide, it just shows some of the skills that I developed on a sort of a broader scale again there. So the finance and budgeting, health and safety, work on performance management, safeguarding is a really important process that I developed, looking at on a whole school level, not just within a whole year group or a class, looking at those systems I can put in place, whether that be the training and development, safeguarding leaflets, those safeguarding learning walks, working with governors. Again, it was a great opportunity to develop those skills, working with governors. I then transitioned to become a school governor, looking at how the governing body's made up. That was a real eye-opener, really, through the course. And then again, looking at the professional learning entitlement and making sure that my colleagues were also receiving those opportunities to develop in their career. So there's lots of opportunities there. And then working with GWER, the local authority, Eston and Welsh Government, all of those opportunities have arisen now in my career. And I don't feel personally that I would have had that confidence to do it without completing the course. So for any leaders looking to progress in that next step of senior leadership, I would really recommend the course. Is that okay, Matt? Is that 5 minutes?
Yeah, that's perfect, John. Thanks. I think I could have wrote a better script for you, to be honest. So, thanks for all that feedback, and it's great to hear your journey. You've been on. You were on the first. I think you were part of the first cohort we started just after COVID. So it's great to hear how you've used the course and what else you've done since you left working with us as well. So I'll hand over to Lowry, I think, next. I'll let Lowry introduce herself. Thanks.
Diolch yn fawr. Pnawn da pawb. A diolch o galon am y cyfle i gael trafod ym mhrofiad i wrth astudio am y cymhwyster MVQ Level 5 efo Achieve More mewn rheolaeth ac arweinyddiaeth. Wel, cyn i fi gychwyn ar y siwrna o astudio'r cwrs efo Achieve More, doedd gen i ddim cyfrifoldeb o ran rheolaeth canol a rheoli pobl o fewn yr ysgol. Ond yn ddistaw bach yn ysgol Eirias, mi oedd y deheuad yna fi i gael dyrchafiad gyrfaol lle. Doeddwn i ddim yn berson hyderus o gwbl, ond trwy system datblygiad proffesiynol ysgol Eirias a chefnogaeth i'r uwchdîm rheoli acw, a hefyd tiwtoriaid anhygoel Achieve More, mi geisi'r cyfle i ddechrau ar y cwrs ac i fagu mwy o hyder. O bellach dwi wedi cwblhau y cwrs ac yn diolch i'r nefoedd mod i wedi cael y cyfle i ddatblygu, achos mi di rwan yn dechrau fy ail flwyddyn fel pennaeth Cymraeg yn ysgol Eirias ac yn mwynhau rheoli ac yn arwain datblygiad y pwnc a'r iaith yn yr ysgol. Yn sicr mae'r cwrs wedi rhoi sylfaen gre i fi ac wedi rhoi rhesymeg tu ôl i neillu o reoli pobl ac arwain pobl hefyd. A mae'r theori tu ôl i bob modiwl nes i astudio yn ystod lefel 5 hefyd wedi galluogi fi feddwl yn strategol ar sut i yrru'r iaith Gymraeg ymlaen yn yr ysgol. Rwan, enghraifft, un o'r modiwla bum i'n astudio oedd arwain datblygiad o strategaeth gwelliant parhaus. A dwi'n teimlo mod i'n gallu defnyddio'r wybodaeth o'r modiwl penodol yma i lunio strategaeth gwelliant parhaus y gyfadran. Ac wrth feddwl am y theori, mae'n atgoffa fi bob tro i edrych ar y strategaeth fel cyfres o gwestiynau, a mae hyn yn rhywbeth nes i ddysgu gen y niwtoriaid. Felly edrych ar y beth, so beth sy'n angen cael ei wella, y sut dwi'n mynd i gyrraedd yr gwelliannau yma, a pam, a mae hynna'n bwysig iawn bod fi yn canolbwyntio ar y pam da ni yn cynnig y gwelliannau yma. A cofio casglu enghreifftiau i gyfiawnhau pob cam. Hyn yn rhywbeth nes i ddysgu wrth fynd ati ysgrifennu traethodau ar ddiwedd pob modiwl, sef casglu gymaint o wybodaeth tystiolaeth oeddwn i'n gallu. Felly, i gloi, dwi allai ddim canmol y cwrs a'r tiwtoriaid gymaint o hynny. Maen nhw wedi bod yn anhygoel, ac dwi yn gweld wir gwerth broffesiynol i astudio'r MVQ lefel 5, ac yn diolch unwaith eto i diwtoriaid anhygoel Achieve More, ac yn sicr i uwch di ymrheoli yr ysgol am roi cyfle i mi fynd ati i datblygu'n broffesiynol. Felly, ia, diolch yn fawr iawn i chi gyd am wrando, ac os gennych chi unrhyw gwestiynau, holwch ar ddiwedd yr drafodaeth. Diolch.
Diolch, Lowry. Yeah, no, thanks for your feedback on a personal level as well as your professional progression since completing our course. It's great to hear a variety of examples from primary and secondary education as well. So I will pass over to Paul, who's got an interesting story as well. He's also worked in a different number of settings within education too. And then after Paul's shared his experiences, we'll be able to kind of open the floor up for any questions and answers to anybody that's interested today too.
I'm just checking. Can you see that, Matt?
Yeah, we can see your screen, Paul. Thanks.
Perfect. Okay. About 200 children, and then and moved to the FE sector, where I'm currently a lecturer in the skills department. So I'm doing essential skills, so English, maths, digital literacy, stuff like that. So just if we're looking at the points on the PowerPoint now, so I feel that the MVQ allowed me to develop various skills, so critical thinking, reflection, organization, communication skills, just to name a few. I was continuously reflecting on my own practice as well as that of others, refining what had been done previously and looking how I could put a stamp on it and change it for the best outcomes for my learners and my department. This reflection, it makes you a better teacher and a better leader because it develops the practice, and subconsciously you're also improving your organizational skills and your people skills as you're completing tasks associated with your portfolio. You often think about how tasks have been carried out and what approaches you would change for the next time if you did it. The course allowed me to gain a deeper understanding of educational strategies, curriculum development, effective teaching practices, and I feel it's benefited my own teaching styles and positively impacted the students in my learning environment. So if we look at the second bullet point, transition to the FE sector, it wasn't an easy journey to kind of move from primary leader, key stage 2 leader to the FE sector. However, working on the MVQ, I had opportunities to reflect on work from both sectors. So as well as developing my critical skills, it allowed me to compare and contrast the two education establishments. I was able to look at various issues such as staffing, finances, timetables, and make direct comparisons. It kind of opened my eyes as well to how different the two environments are, even though they're both educational establishments in Wales. I used some of my previous leadership experience to improve some issues But I also had to be realistic as well. I was now on a massive learning curve, joining an organisation as big as College Cambria, 6,000 full-time students, 20,000 part-time students. But the course supported me in reviewing and analysing things such as policies, staffing structure, organisation, and it allowed me to digest new ways in thinking and new approaches to leadership as well. With that in mind, I needed to set up working partnerships and new ways of collaboration because I was in a new workplace. I feel like the programme supported opportunities to collaborate with new colleagues, to network in my new environment as I was completing tasks that were specific for my portfolio as well. Whilst completing the tasks, I met and worked with additional stakeholders and strived to gain more experience in the FE sector. So I felt like the course was opening doors for me as well. This provided me with opportunities to set up events at the college and how the kind of college worked on a day-to-day basis, who I had to collaborate with. And it's totally different from working in a small school where if I needed to seek permission for anything, it would probably come from the head teacher. Now, when I was running events and establishing things at the college, there's so many people and so many different departments that you have to check with before you're doing stuff. So it kind of enhanced my opportunities to work with different people as well. So on the back of this, I started networking with colleagues to run events. You can see the picture there. We set up a skills day with one of the local primary schools. Okay. So it opened doors for me as well. The next point was support and guidance. The support and guidance throughout my journey has been nothing short of exceptional. Assignments and tasks were suited around my commitments and my workload, which enabled me to find a pace that suited me. And you don't really get that on level 5 courses and demanding courses like this. It really makes a difference as it alleviates some of the pressure of a demanding qualification. And I can speak from my experience in school and college that it's essential to have that when you're doing such a demanding course. I was also able to sound off ideas and share experiences to see how they aligned with the marking criteria. This also highlighted any areas that were missing. And then I had opportunities then to think of opportunities to set up to gain that experience at the FE sector, the FE level. Having that expert knowledge and support made the process less daunting for me. And then finally, I think the process has refined and developed my skills, allowing me to prepare for progression at the college. So I now feel I've got the skills, attributes, and now that recognised qualification to coincide with my experience. I've done the middle leadership stuff through school. I've got my masters and things like that. But I think this qualification specifically makes you think about the things you're doing and why you're doing them, which makes a massive impact at school level and at college for me as well. So hopefully after kind of Christmas, I'll start looking for my next career step back into leadership at the college. So diolch and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Paul. So just to summarise there, I guess some of the key features that some of the staff and the employees that we work with on the programme have talked about, maybe what makes our course a little bit different to some of the leadership and management programmes out there that are available, is with work-based learning, there's always 2 types of units. So there's knowledge-based units and then application-based units. So with all of our courses, and in particular the level 5 leadership and management we're talking about today, everybody will get a chance to learn some new knowledge, whether that's managing budgets through finance, whether that's leadership theories, whether that's managing change and some of the other aspects that the staff have shared today. But there's always an element of applying that knowledge. So they always learn some new knowledge or some theory, and then it's about applying it in their context or their roles within schools. And I think that's where the real learning happens, is when we apply that knowledge. And we have to provide evidence that that they've got knowledge, but they've also applied the knowledge. That's where the real learning happens, and people can reflect on what works and what doesn't work. And as well as gaining the knowledge and the qualification, what we're hopefully doing is improving people's working practices, which can be seen by the employees that we work with as well. So our program's really individualised and contextualised to people that work in education at level 3, 4 and 5, depending on what roles they're working with at the moment. But it can be applied across various settings within education. So we work with primary schools, secondary schools, special schools in particular, but also even FE, you know, so doesn't, like Paul mentioned, he actually started in a primary school setting, moved over into an FE setting and continued the same qualification with us. Obviously his evidence changed in terms of his role changing, but he was still managed to gain that individual experience and contextualized approach to our delivery. As you would have heard from Lowry, we do provide the program bilingually, and with that's resources and also well-speaking staff. And the most important part is we are really flexible. So we deliver programs across Wales, and we can deliver face-to-face, we can deliver online, and we try and fit it around people's schedules. So it should be, and coming on one of our courses should be an added value to the role they're doing within the school, not something that ticks a box or gets in the way of the job they're trying to do. It should go hand in hand with people's jobs and career progressions and opportunities, and giving them skills gaps so that they can apply for progressions in the future. So hopefully today you've heard enough from me and obviously more from the staff and the employees that we work with on the programme. And I think we've got about 20 minutes left if anybody's got any questions about our programme, or if they want to ask Mark about the endorsement process for NAEL as well.